Hello, and welcome back to Dozers to Drywall. This is our seventh episode, and it happens to be exam week here at school. So we've been sitting in exams today and for the next few days. Graduation will be on May 16th. And today's guest is Hannah Lux. And Hannah Lux was one of my students, and about 5 years ago, I guess.
Oh, yeah. I think it's coming up on that amount of time.
And has gone out into the real world and done very, very well. And she's moved up from an estimator to a senior estimator to the estimator of all estimators. And just a few weeks ago, been hired away by Trimble to market estimating. And so a tremendous degree of success, tremendous amount of experience in a very short time, and and so that's where we are. You're working for Trimble now, you said.
I am, yeah. So I am currently, since April 13th, I am working as a sales engineer, electrical estimating. That is my actual title. So Trimble is a really, really big company. Global company, so thousands of employees, thousands of products that they own, thousands of softwares to implement and sell. So the electrical estimating part of my title kind of hones in on the AccuBid product side. So the two main estimating softwares that I was using in contracting was AccuBid Anywhere and AccuBid Classic. And they're kind of associated things that feed into it. And now I am selling AccuBid Classic and Anywhere. And my role is pretty much the same as any sales engineer. Any sales engineering role is going to have one purpose, which is to demonstrate the product to the client. So there's three different people that might tag team a client. We have a sales exec. They are the typical kind of cold callers. They're the ones who are really going after that commission, finding the clients, taking people out to dinner, doing that stuff. That's scary to me. I'm not interested in that. And then we also have a product seller. And the product seller is the person who is going to be really knowledgeable about like how much the products cost, what kind of training you would need to implement it, giving you the full picture of what would it look like if you were to purchase this product. They would do a discovery call with the client, find out what their pain points are, maybe find out what current system they're using. A lot of people are still just using Excel. A lot of people are using other Trimble products, and we're trying to get them to migrate to a better software. And then by that time, the product seller might decide, okay, I think that this client wants to transition to AccuBid Anywhere. I think AccuBid Anywhere would be the perfect thing for them. Hannah, can you please show them AccuBid Anywhere? How will it solve their problems? How is it the magic ticket? And that's what I go in and I do. So that's kind of our structure right now.
So you're the Navy SEALs of Trimble.
Yes, exactly.
They find the target, they recon the target.
Yeah.
Then you're sent in.
Right, exactly. Yes.
Something in a general sense that I'd like you to talk about a little bit is the way we teach estimating. We teach the engineer's estimate here, which of course is then used by the client to evaluate bids when they come in the door, and that. And then when you left us, you ended up almost immediately as an intern estimating for a contractor in the electrical world.
Yes.
And there, your estimates have to be down to the penny because you're making the risk that you can make a profit. Whereas in our case, the way we teach our kids, they got 10% fudge factor they can play with. So talk about what it's like going into that other high pressure estimating environment.
Yeah, so I think that nothing could possibly prepare you for the world of electrical estimating. It is truly like one of the most high pressure, insane environments you could possibly be in. First of all, the difficulty of electrical estimating is got to be, out of all the divisions, I'd have to say it's the most difficult, and I'm not being biased. There's so much that goes into it, and especially when, we talk about in CAE 470, we talk about all the time, there is no routes for you laid out, and there's no gravity that's impacting any of it. So it really is up to you. And when you come in as a brand new estimator, you really have to rely on the people who are teaching you to tell you what's correct and what's not. I mean, for a while, luckily only a short period of time, I was not taking the best paths. I was not taking, I was running things all over the place. My boss was looking at my estimates and going, well, that's probably not how we would do it in the field. And so I would say, okay, well then, who do I talk to find out how they're going to do it in the field? And so they would let me talk to, the foreman, and I would just say, hey, like, if you have some extra time, I would love for you to kind of take me through how you would do this. If you got these plans out in the field, where would you run the pipe? And things like that. And utilizing my resources. I was very blessed at Jamerson and Bowen's, best company. I had Al Rohde, who was my boss, my mentor. He plucked me out of iPro class with Dr. Dan Tomel, and basically told me, I don't care that you know nothing. We don't care about that here. I'm going to teach you everything. In fact, it's better that you know nothing. And so he really just helped me with everything. And then I also was very lucky to have three really amazing, my estimate gurus, Mario Palestrani, Ken Gordon, and Rich Kina. They were gentlemen who had been estimating for, I mean, each of them had to be doing it for at least 40 or 50 years. And I, for the whole summer, would just go over and sit next to Rich Kina, and I'd say, Rich, show me what you're doing. And you go, oh, well, you just sit there and be quiet, and I'll help you out. Like, you just don't ask any questions right now, and just watch. And then I would inevitably ask questions, and he would go, okay. And so I really got probably the best training that anybody could have asked for. And all of that goes into how you create accurate estimates. It really depends on your teaching, because if you are not getting that information from a good source, then you're not going to be accurate in your estimate. And if you don't know anything about estimating, you are the one who's going to get blamed if everything goes wrong. So if that project doesn't make money, or if the labor hours aren't matching up to how they should, the first person that they're going to go to figure that out is the estimator. Why is this wrong? Why wasn't this caught? And a lot of times you can say, okay, well, we talked about this, and this is also part of having a really good team, is we had a team member, Jessica, who she would take notes at all of our meetings. So if there was something that was talked about with the project manager, she would make sure it was in those notes. And then if they asked about it later and said, no, you never told me that, she had those notes ready to go. Here, we talked about it right here. So all of that really goes into having these accurate estimates, and not only having accurate estimates, but trying to win at the same time, because that's kind of what goes hand in hand with estimating. Is you want to be accurate, but you also want to win. So how do you manage when you have people, other companies, who don't really care about being accurate? They care more about winning the bid. And my boss, Al, used to always tell me, we want to be maybe in the middle. We don't want to be the highest. We don't want to be the lowest, because that means we missed something. We want to be right in the middle. And if that client doesn't want the people right in the middle, maybe we shouldn't be working with them anyways. Maybe if they want the cheapest, we probably shouldn't be working with them anyways. So yeah, so that all, and that, like you said, the fudge factor, sometimes you can have a fudge factor in the real world, but a lot of times things are tight. Luckily, in subcontracting, you have a little bit more wiggle room because you're not carrying as many people under you as like a general contractor would. General contractor could be going in on an entire project at only like 2 or 3%, while we could be going in at more like 15%. So that includes overhead. It's not just pure 15% profit, but um, yeah, it really just depends on the company, what their goals are. But being the most accurate was always the priority to me, and I found success in that part of it. Sometimes you got to let the project managers decide how much markup and all that fun stuff that they want to do on it, and you just got to say, okay, sure, whatever you want to do.
It's what it's going to cost you.
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's funny. I don't know if you know Dr. Steve Kleps or not,
Yep.
but Steve did his PhD on methods of estimating an electrical subcontractors.
Wow.
And one of the things that I remember sitting in his PhD defense, one of his conclusions was after interviewing 50 electrical subcontractors, nobody does it the same. And so,
It's true.
my question is, when you say that your team member made good notes and kept it all, in today's world, it's just now many years later, do they use document systems to track all those bids they don't get and what's going on, so you can look at what's there and figure out what's going on? Is there document control systems that run the estimating operation?
Yeah, so there definitely is. I don't know if at this point it would be to the point where we could maybe be, you would have to probably be utilizing AI in some way, shape, or form if we wanted to like comb through old documents or old notes and kind of make conclusions based on those notes. But there's definitely management systems for estimating. Like, for example, at Jamerson, we used cost codes. So that was basically a form of management. So, when you're doing your estimate, each item that you're putting in that estimate, each labor item or just cost item, is associated with the labor code. At the end of your estimate, when you're doing your handoff to your project manager, you might give them a report on how much labor and how many dollars you have in each cost code. Throughout the project, that project manager will ask that foreman or whoever's on site to be billing hours based on cost codes so that we can see at the end what was too high, what was too low, and we can, make those adjustments later. The only thing with cost codes sometimes is that sometimes the field gets a little intimidated by cost codes. Sometimes they think that they might get in trouble if they bill too many hours on one cost code, or if almost like it's tracking them. And we have to really emphasize, we have to say, this is for us. You are not being graded on this assignment. This is more for our information, our knowledge, so that we can be most accurate. Because really, when you're doing estimating, unless you're getting feedback from the field, you can use like NICA codes. You can use these labor units. Like they're based on something, but per company, you can not get accurate data on how your company is doing the work, how your field is running, how your estimating team is doing, if you're not tracking it somehow. I don't want to do a plug too soon, but like Trimble has many softwares that can help with project management. So there are definitely softwares where you can create a project in one software, and it'll feed from your estimating software into your project management software into your ERP software. Like it can be a really streamlined process if you want it to be. I will say that electrical estimating is definitely still very old school. Professor Kleps put it best: everybody does it differently. There really is no standardization across the electrical industry, even now, I would say. Like I was telling you earlier, Professor Lemming, how many clients that we have that are still just doing their estimates on an Excel spreadsheet is like astronomical. So it's getting there, but everybody does it differently. And there is definitely a little bit more pushback, I would say, in the electrical industry for these types of softwares because it's just a little bit more old school. You know, why change it when we've been doing it like this the whole time? That we hear that a lot. So yeah, that I one of my biggest things was always trying to get feedback. I was always trying to figure out, I mean, down to the nuts and bolts, I was asking, does it really take you 15 minutes to install 12 of these bolts? Like, I really wanted to know, like, from the field specifically, I wanted to know, what is this accurate? Is this based on real life? And yeah, Jamerson was really great at tracking that type of stuff. So that was always interesting. And I was encouraging the company I was with after that, Preferred Electric, to also kind of start implementing that type of stuff to get that feedback. And they really were seeing how valuable that is. So,
You know, you talk about Costco's. I've seen the situation where foremen are worried about busting a cost code, so they find another code
yes,
that either was a potential claim or something that's not been used, and on their own, they start recording the other cost code in the timesheets of their crews,
yes,
and they don't give you good information.
nope. And that's what you really have to communicate, is that you are not being graded on this assignment. You are not going to get in trouble for doing this. This is purely for the estimators to be able to see if we're accurate or not. So that was always a little bit of a back and forth with them, for sure.
So, in addition to your success recently, you're also the president of the Electrical Estimators here in Chicago, which I think was about 1900 or so.
Yeah, it's a very old organization. Yeah, so I believe, actually, sorry, I think it was 1918 that we were founded, because 2018, I believe, was our 100-year anniversary. And the Chicago Electrical Estimators Association is the organization that helped create NECA, helped create the codes that everybody uses, also helped come up with labor rates. This organization really used to have a huge function before we had estimating software. So before you had a database to pull from, how would you get this information? And the organization really also started. One of our former presidents, Walter List, just gave us a really great presentation actually in March about the history of the Estimators Association. We have a lot of new, younger members who really don't know about the history of the organization, and it was really birthed after some of the big electrical disasters that we had here in Chicago. Lots of fires.
The Oriental Theater?
Yeah, the Oriental Theater. Like, so many big accidents that happened because there really was no standardization. It was just a free-for-all, basically, the Wild West. And a couple of these guys here in Chicago got together and were like, how do we raise the standard of electrical estimating and of electrical work? How do we make it safe? How do we standardize things across the industry? How do we interact with the unions? How do we, all these things that they were trying to figure out. And the organization was super integral in just making that technology happen. Even, I call it technology. It wasn't quote unquote technology how we have it now, but like the improvements that they made, just having like a cost code book was a huge innovation at the time. So I really enjoy being a part of it. It's definitely more of a networking organization now because, as we all know, we have robust databases. Everything's online now. So The actual function is not as necessary anymore, but it's still really great. We have lots of presentations from our sponsors. Our sponsors come and give presentations on switchgear, lighting, anything that really refers to us. Even like we'll have Stevenson Crane, who is an equipment crane subcontractor. They come and present to us. So we're really working to the organization was kind of in a decline after COVID, and we were brought in to the board. We had a fresh new board. The people who were on the board asked the six of us to join and just take it over and just say fresh start. And that was, for me, I think that was 4 years ago. So it's been a really fun journey. It's been really cool. So the first year that I was there, I think our Christmas party had like 20, 25 people. We had like almost 60 this year. So we're definitely reviving it. It's fun. When you come, you get a free steak dinner at Tom's Steakhouse in Melrose Park, which we love. And yeah, it's just been a wonderful experience, honestly. And we're actually about to suggest a amendment to the bylaws, because technically I am not allowed to be the president anymore, because I now work for Trimble, which is not a contractor in Illinois. So we're handling that at the May meeting. We'll see how it goes.
I, I think I'd rewrite that you could be president emeritus.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Right.
you
Yeah.
were the president, and
Yeah. Right.
well, it's kind of interesting along those lines. About 5 years ago, there was a big thing on the internet about YouTube's and that about the Chinese were prefabricating all the electrical parts, and that the unions in the U.S. and that would have to
Mm-hmm.
go out of business because the Chinese would ship over prefabricated
Mm-hmm.
buildings and prefabricated
Mm-hmm.
conduit with the wire in it, etc.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen any of that
I
happen.
haven't seen that happen either. I think that things would go a lot quicker if it was that simple. I mean, prefab is for sure the future, and everybody uses it in some way, shape, or form at this point. Unless you are a very small electrical contractor, you're probably using prefab, whether that be you are, painting your boxes beforehand. That's prefab. Whether you are maybe at Jamerson, we used to prefab entire racks for hospital hallways, which are huge, huge racks. And then we would just cut them in like 6 pieces, load them in the back of a truck, and then take it to the hospital. And then you would just, throw your connectors on there, and that would be it. And so like, you could prefab rooms. We've done bathrooms with Hill Mechanical, where everybody is there already doing the bathrooms, and you literally just take it with a crane and set it in the building, and you just do your final connections, and that's it. So prefab is definitely the future. But I will say that a lot of people still seem to be a little skeptical of it. But I am also involved with lean construction, and lean is a big proponent of prefab, primarily because of lean's, I guess you would say, motto is reducing waste. So reducing waste by prefabrication is in a lot of different ways. You can reduce waste by not having as many accidents. You can reduce waste by not having as much wasted material. Lots of different schedule. So that's definitely something that's big with us. And we're actually, in my new job at Trimble, we are actually implementing a ton of prefabricated stuff into our databases now, so that they can be used, because it's becoming more and more common. So yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I had a number of students this semester did papers on how to build data farms.
Mm-hmm.
And have you gotten involved at all in all this data farm business?
I have, yeah, I have. So yeah, it's interesting because it's easy to definitely. So I am totally open in saying that I am definitely a more leftist person. So there is definitely things that make me nervous about data centers environmentally. I think it's a little nerve wracking, to be using that much electricity and things like that. But at the same time, when you are working in contracting, unless you want to lose your job, it's not a great thing to, be making a moral stand. Nobody wants to hear about you being morally opposed to data centers. Too bad we already just won 3 data centers. So there's nothing you can do about it. And it is definitely really interesting. I think that people who are, I guess you would say, lay people who are not in electrical construction, I don't think they have any idea the scope and the size of what these data centers are going to be building. I mean, the one that we were doing, and I don't think this is under an NDA or anything, and I won't say what company it's with, but we were working on a data farm in Manuka that is going to be 6 buildings. Each building is just one of our packages was like $12 million just for, and that was one bid package. They had to get an electrical contractor, and then that electrical contractor was subcontracting out to 5 different subs to get all the work done. Plus, of the 6 buildings, there is 4 different general contractors because these are such large things, and the project is going to be 10 to 12 years long. And there's also not enough labor for these data centers and these data farms. So, unfortunately, the money is really, a lot of it is going to travel, because when you're building these data centers in these rural areas, they just do not have the skilled labor force to support these huge projects. So, things just get more expensive because we're sending our people to travel, but it doesn't seem to bother these companies very much. So, it's just kind of the name of the game. Unfortunately, like, there is some things that make me a little nervous about it, but at the end of the day, you can't pick and choose, what work you're doing when you're working for someone else. So you got to kind of roll with it. And I think that for sure the data centers are propping up the electrical industry right now. I don't know if it makes me nervous because I think that it's like a bubble that might pop, but who knows what's going to happen in 10 years. We'll find out.
So you're going to take a moral stand after the next 3 data centers.
Yeah. Once that's finished with, then I'll say that I'm opposed to it. Yeah.
When I have students that are kind of hardcore environmentalists, I sometimes throw out there, of course, as an academic, well, don't you think we ought to use up all the resources immediately so that our engineers can figure out solutions?
Yeah, they need jobs, right?
Yeah. What? What'd you just say?
Yeah, it's an interesting kind of dilemma that we're facing. While, like, the economy needs the jobs, but at the same time, environmentally, it's a little scary. So we'll see how it goes. Honestly, the data center projects that I've been involved with have run really smoothly, and have been successful. So yeah, I mean, there's not even really all that much to it. It's really just a series of doing, the distribution, and it's like we always say, it's just pipe and wire. There's nothing hard about it. It's just pipe and wire.
See, I've come up with this theory that since the loop has buildings that are 50% empty or more, that we should take the top half of all the buildings and turn them into data centers, and then use the heat to keep the people downstairs warm.
Yeah. Honestly, you are not too far off from what I've heard some people talking about, honestly.
We've got empty buildings, put computers in them.
Well, and data centers always used to be, in places like data centers used to be small.
Well, every company had an IT department,
right? Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I just did even. It was funny because I was actually bidding a job in the Ferrero candy manufacturing plant, the Butterfinger one in Franklin Park, and they were building a mini data center inside their manufacturing facility. So like I was working on that, which was small. That was only like maybe a couple $100,000, all the way up to just this one bid package. That's one tiny part of it is like $15 million. So there's a really big range but yeah, we could definitely be utilizing our empty space much more effectively in Chicago for sure.
So, not only have you been a superstar out of our academic program and uh, become a superstar estimator, and now you're in the business of selling the automation of that
Mm-hmm.
and that, but you also mentor, don't you?
I do, yeah. So I'm just gonna shameless plug. Professional Women in Chicago, in construction Chicago, is the best organization that ever was, ever will be. It's my favorite. Love them to death. Shout out to all my ladies at PwC. You guys are the best ever. And I got involved with them because when I was working at Jamerson, I had a mentor. Her name was Irene Walsh Garcia. She had been in the field as an electrician, and then had come into the project management industry, and she just kind of took me under her wing and was like, you got this. Do you want to do something that's a little bit more meaningful? I'm part of this group, and I'd like to take you to an event or two. And we went to a couple of events, and through that I met Polished Pebbles founder Kelly Fair. Shout out to Kelly. And she she is the CEO of a young ladies mentorship group called Polished Pebbles, and she asked if we wanted to
Sorry,
volunteer.
what was that? Polished?
Polished Pebbles,
Oh,
yes.
pebbles. I
Yes,
thought you
pebbles.
said puddles.
No, sorry. Polished Pebbles.
Pebbles.
Yeah,
Okay.
so the girls are pebbles, and we're polishing them and turning them into girls who will be productive members of society with good manners and business savvy and all that fun stuff, because they might not have that at home. So Polished Pebbles is a wonderful organization, and she asked us at one of these events that we were at. Actually, it was an event at the Obama Center when it was first under construction. She asked us if we wanted to come volunteer at her Pink Hard Hat Symposium, which was basically a girls' construction conference. So it was bringing grade school girls, showing them about the trades. It was hosted at Chicago Women in Trades, which is another really, really amazing organization who does great work. And that event for me was really like life changing, I think. I had a group of girls who, and I, at this point, I'm like freshly 21. I'm still very new in my career. And they asked me to take this group of girls around to the different stations. And the one station that we brought them to was the welding station. And this girl comes out. She is wearing her giant overalls, her big mask. She's covered in soot. She's got this big blowtorch. I got this group of like 9-year-olds with me, and she comes out and she's like, hey, are we ready to weld some stuff? She just gets to it. There's sparks flying everywhere. The girls start screaming, they're laughing, they're giggling. And I just watching their faces was like amazing to me. And the one girl just turns to me and she goes, can I do that? I said, sure. And she's like, oh, okay, I want to do that. And like that was enough for me. I was hooked. I was hooked on mentorship like the moment that happened. And I just told Irene, like, I really want to get more involved with this. How can I get more involved? And so we started going to events. She was on, I believe she was already on the mentorship and education committee, and it was a smaller group at the time. And before I knew it, I was running the K through 12 engagement subcommittee. So we have 5 committees. We have formal education, formal mentorship, college outreach, and K through 12. And K through 12 was my first passion, so that's what I gravitated to immediately. I think there was only like 4 of us in that group, and I just kind of ran with it. And I believe when I started, we had like 25 ladies in the mentorship and education group as a total. Now, like my K through 12 has like 15 women on it. our group is getting up to like 40, 50 ladies that are in this group, and we just like do career fairs and talk to these girls whenever we can. We do a lot of partnerships with Chicago Women in Trades that I mentioned. We do partnerships with Revolution Workshop. Revolution Workshop is an organization that helps prep women and minorities for their trades entrance exams. They have pre-apprenticeship programs where you can go into a 16-week program, and each week is a different union, so that you or a different trade, so that you can test out and find out what you like. Because a lot of women and minorities don't have the opportunity to get this type of experience at the high school that they were at, or maybe they dropped out of high school and got their GED. And so, yeah, we partner with a lot of amazing organizations. And it's just my passion. And we do PWC events here at IIT. We just had one on April 10th. We did a career panel, what turning your college degree into a career. So that was really, really fun. And we just shout out to my co-chair, Juliana. Myself and Juliana are the co-chairs of the Mentorship and Education Committee. So we oversee the whole operation. And yeah, I love PwC. I love the women that I work with there. It's truly like my passion above all else. So yeah, really, really grateful to be a part of it.
It sounds like you've acquired a very broad uh, set of interests
I
walking out
have,
of here.
yeah. Why not?
I mean, I'd like to take credit for all of it, but
You
obviously,
can.
we don't teach that much here.
Yeah.
And what was the term I heard just this morning for people that do that? Something broad event, something or another
Mm,
that they, I always say to my students, there's R2D2s and C3POs. And the undergrad engineers are R2D2s. They're focused and they just know that. And the graduate engineers, they're supposed to be C3POs,
yeah,
learning a much broader thing. And you've broadened out
absolutely.
into that.
Absolutely. I mean, I one of the things that we talk about to the IIT kids is you don't have to just be an engineer in the most traditional sense of the word. And we really talk about a lot, especially when we're talking about lean construction, which really encompasses all the facets of construction and PwC. One of the things that's unique about PwC is it doesn't discriminate against industry. It's all AEC careers are welcome. So we have women who, might just be accountants for a construction company, or might be construction lawyers, or are in product career development, HR, things like that. So lots of architects, lots of engineers. And what we talk about is once you are in construction, the opportunities are endless. I mean, when I was in the process of, I mean, just over the past 5 years, the amount of job offers that I've received that don't even have anything to do with electrical estimating is, I mean, really high. And a lot of these connections I'm making through PwC and the organizations I'm in. And so that's why being involved with those type of things are really, really important. And we tell, especially the gals here at IIT, we even have student memberships for PwC that are like $60 for the year or something like that. And that lets them come to all of our free events, and we really encourage them to come and hang out because so many of them now are like really getting into, you know, just being buddies with like these women who are like CEOs of construction companies and things like that. So the connections that you make are out of this world. And we just talk about all the time. Construction is so flexible. It is really like you could do anything. And you find yourself in positions. I mean, you go to these PwC events and you ask somebody what they do, and they'll tell you something, and you'll be like, I didn't even know that that was a job. Like,
That can be done.
yeah, I didn't even know that's a thing. But now that you say it, somebody would need to do that task. Like, so it's really interesting. I love it. I love construction. I love encouraging students to explore construction. Even if they do end up staying in just like a very traditional, strict engineering role. there's always doors open later to do something else. So we're construction fans over here. My whole family is construction people. My boyfriend's a plumber. We really like eat, sleep, breathe construction in my household. So yeah,
Yeah.
love it.
I mean, my wife is a retired dental assistant, but when I ask for an extra piece of dessert, she says not without a change order.
Mm.
So,
See, once it's in your household, it's in your
so
household.
you know what? But would you say it's a true statement that from the time that you were in that iPro that you've never looked for a job?
100%. Yeah,
It's always
absolutely.
come to you.
Yes, it has always presented itself to me. Correct. And that's really one of the things about estimating, which when I met my boss, Al Rody, one of the first things that he told me was if there is a demand for 50 electrical estimators in Chicago, there are only 25. You will never be unemployed ever if you stick with this. And what I think a lot of people to make the mistake of is using estimating as only a stepping stone to get to a project management role. And if that's your goal and that's what you have a passion for, that's great. But I don't think a lot of people stop to think, I guess, of the benefits of being an estimator. Obviously, it's very difficult. Obviously, it's a demanding job. It's not for everybody. I've seen plenty of people try and fail. You definitely need to be at least a little bit detail oriented, things like that. But overall, I think it's a really great job. I loved not having to be on call. I loved not ever, I mean, one of the first times that I was working and I was out with my coworkers at a young electrical professionals event. Shout out to the Electrical Association, to my girl Allie. She puts on great young electrical professional events. And this was my first event with everybody. And it was 9 o'clock at night. We were having beers at this brewery, and my colleague gets a phone call, and he stands up, he goes, I gotta go,
I've
one of
got a
my
problem.
transformers just exploded on one of my sites. And I just was like, it's 9 o'clock at night and you've been drinking, like, what do you do? And he goes, what I do is I go fix it. And I was like, oh, no, no, no. I was like, this will never be. That's not me. So I always used to tell people if I wanted to be on call, I would have been like a doctor. So I don't want to be on call. I like estimating gave me a much better work life balance than project management would have. And I just found it to be a little bit more meaningful. And in my the way my brain works, I really enjoy being detail oriented. When I was really little, I wanted to be an accountant. So the money side of it interests me, the counting, the math, like all those things really I enjoyed. And I like reading blueprints. Anything that's really detail oriented was right up my alley. So that's why I chose to stick with estimating. But I think not enough people kind of give it a chance. You know, they think of it as a chore more than a possible career. So which I also, believe me, when I was in CAE 470, I was not having a great time. Like it was a real life struggle. Not to mention, I was taking it spring of 2020. I don't know if any of your listeners at home know what happened in March of 2020, but it was a bit of a global pandemic. And so it was really rough. And it wasn't until I had been removed from it from a couple months. I believe actually I had the summer, and then I took that iPro class in the fall of 2020. And that's where Dr. Dan Tomel had my boss, Al Rody, give a presentation to the class on electrical estimating. And that's where he offered me my internship. But I really had only looked at it as something that I was scared of until I started talking more to an estimator. And he was like, you're asking all the right questions. You have the right mindset. Like, you would be really good at this. Do you want to come try it? And I did, and I loved it. And I loved it so much that I went to the dark side to sell the software that you have to use to estimate. So, yeah, it's been definitely a really interesting journey. And I think too, like when I was in CE 470, I wasn't even working on the electrical division actually, which now I find really ironic. I was doing, I think, mechanical, but even while I was doing it, I wasn't disliking it. I was like enjoying the actual estimating part of it. So I think it just speaks to some people and doesn't to other people, but I think people don't give it enough chances because, like Professor Lemming just said, I've never been looking for a job ever. I've only had jobs being basically thrown at me, and even if you're not like the best estimator of all time, like even if you're not senior estimator level, there's still going to be a demand for you. There's still going to be someone who says, too bad we need estimators. Luckily, we have a senior estimator here. He'll teach you everything you need to know, and you don't have to worry about it. So, yeah, I definitely encourage people to pursue estimating if it's something that they're even a little bit interested in.
It, it's been my experience that contractors' estimating systems are based upon their production, and as such, oftentimes the software you get is kind of an empty database where you
Mm-hmm.
have to fill it up.
Mm-hmm.
And the other key to it is once you've done that, you have to kind of have some kind of a system of a reiterative checking to make sure
Yes.
our production is still that way.
Yeah.
And in some cases, you'll know who your best superintendents, best foremen, and that are for production and such.
Mm-hmm.
But uh, how do you see that from the selling side? How do you explain that to people?
Yeah. So I think from one of the things that we really focus on in selling is that you're not teaching the software, you're demonstrating it. So something that we coming from contracting people, there's other people on my team like this. Shout out to Storm and Christina, um, where when you're coming from the software side or when you're coming from the contracting side and you're a bit of an Acubid nerd, it is hard to not try and show them the whole shebang, right? Like you're not trying to confuse people, especially because a lot of these people that you're selling to have never seen the software before. So you can't spend all the time in the world showing them all your favorite features, all your favorite things. You really have to focus on what are their pain points and how is this going to solve that problem for them. Now, the database is something that's very intimidating to people, especially if you have only been using something like Excel or a more basic estimating platform. And so Trimble has worked really hard to make it so that the database that you receive when you get the software is robust enough to where if you were a brand new smaller company, you could absolutely just utilize that and it would be accurate. They're pulling their labor codes and their material pricing from solid numbers. You could even with Acubid products, you can link up live vendor pricing, which makes it even better. But they're using for their labor rates, they're using Nika. So, and you can change your codes from Nika 1, 2, 3, and it'll be accurate. Now, something that we actually just started to offer more recently, or at least advertise it more recently, is custom database building services. So we actually have third party contractors who their whole job is to help you build your custom database for your company. Now, one of the things that I would say that companies make a big mistake on is under not under funding, but under I guess not placing enough importance on the implementation of the software. So not you really want to choose one person at your company who it's going to be their job to maintain this database, to learn new things about the software when they come out, to build things when people need them, to receive feedback from the field and then implement that in your database. That is absolutely the most successful model. We had that actually at Jamerson when uh, they wanted to switch from Accubid Classic to Accubid Anywhere. They hired my colleague Alex Sabatka. He had already implemented Accubid Anywhere at 2 other companies before that. He now actually works for Trimble as a product seller, of course. But that's where I met him. And it was his job for the first year and a half. He did not have any estimates. He was just implementing the Accubid Anywhere software at that company, making the database as custom as could be. And it was so successful. Now, I have heard of other companies where, maybe the first person they had in charge of it was in it for about 6 months, then maybe they left, somebody else took it over, and before you know, it really turned into something that was usable, but not, people weren't happy with it. There's a lot of people creating their own temporary items, their own temporary assemblies, creating their own mini databases inside of the database with what they want it to be. And that just becomes a mess really quickly. So I would say that we really encourage companies to pick that one champion to be the implementer. And that helps everything. And now actually Trimble is allowing like their own champions. So Christina was just telling me about this guy earlier. I can't remember his name, but he has a solar database that he has built just for solar work that has literally every single thing that you could possibly think of for solar work. And he sells that database for $7,500 per company. And so if a company is saying, we're doing all solar work, we want to use Accubid Anywhere, what do you recommend for how the quickest way that we could be utilizing this software in the next 2 months? We might say to them, well, we have this guy who has this database, and we encourage you to go through him, and he'll also do implementation classes. He'll show you how to use his database, show you all the ins and outs, even show you how to edit things in there, make it custom to you. So we've really started to pursue that route for a lot of the contractors, because why reinvent the wheel if somebody potentially has already built it? So that's what we've been doing a lot of on the selling side, is really encouraging people to pursue these custom database builders to help them.
I think from the management side that I've been on a few times in my life, you use the proper word, that's champions.
Mm-hmm.
When you go to put new systems in, you need to find champions that believe
Yes.
in it and will do it. And
Yes.
it's been my experience as you throw it out there in a number of places, and you find that one or two persons that just says, I like this and this works, and then you pull them in. It's almost natural selection.
Yes.
But yeah. Well, I see from our director here that we're running on time, and I'd like to mention to the folks at home again that we're at the end of our academic year. We're going to try to have some podcasts over the summer. We do have the bachelor's degree in construction management that we should have working by the end of the summer. If you know anybody that's interested, to get with us.
Very cool.
And we really thank Hannah for coming in today.
Yes.
Got any last comments?
No, thank you so much for having me. This is so fun. Listen to Professor Lemming's podcast, guys. This is a great thing, and IIT is a great school. I had a great experience here. Pursue all the things. Don't pigeonhole yourself into one thing or another, and use networking organizations. Join a club. Join PwC, join LCI, any of the things. that will help you start to interact with, more people. That's my
Okay.
advice. Yeah.
All right. So that's a wrap for session 7.